Well, good evening, Europe. It's Eurovision Ireland back for another national final review. So, in case you're joining us for the first time, I'll just introduce everyone very quickly. A storm like this won't break a man like this. We have Richard.
Hiya.
We have our very own Scandinavian Eurovision Ireland's resident northern girl, Sarah.
Hi.
It's your lucky day because we also have here Bogdan.
Hi.
And we also have our editor-in-chief, Iroloska's Eighth Wonder, John.
Hi, folks.
And I'm James. And also keep your eyes peeled because I'm sure we'll be seeing Eurovision Ireland's mascot Staggy making an appearance somewhere, the voice of his generation. Oh, there he is, speaking of the devil. Right, so today we're going to take a look at the national final from 2013. So going back a bit, a time when we could still go outside and when we'd all not quite sort of had enough of euphoria just yet. So, 2013, 5 songs entered Eurosong 2013. It was held on the 22nd of February, and it was part of the Late Late Show hosted by Ryan Tubridy. Now, the Eurosong format had been used in previous years. It got Ireland to the final in 2011 and 2012, so I think there was a lot of hope that 2013 would do the same thing. Now, we're going to talk a bit about the Euromenta format as we're going along. As I said, it was filmed in a TV studio of RTE, so again, I think we'll be covering that as well. A few awkward camera angles and things, but we'll see as we go along. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to jump in straight away with song number 1, Inche Quinn and Songkes The Last Time. Let's take a look here.
When I arrived here from the cold north, left a lot of pain back on that road. Was it cold and gloomy away from my place? Now there's a warm, yes, there's a warm breeze on my face. Songkes, 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 Yamuya Jag.
Okay, so Songkes The Last Time was written by Hugh O'Neill and Sinead Bradley, and the mentor for the band was Shay Healy, who was the composer for What's Another Year, so not a lot to live up to there. Now, I think it's very interesting that there's a Turkish language song in an Irish national final, but I'm going to hand over to Richard, who'll tell us his thoughts on that.
Well, Inche Quinn and their Turkish song Songkes sounded very off-key throughout, and I got the sort of hippie vibe from them. However, it sort of fits the Irish setting like an Irish pub band. It was very repetitive as well, certainly in the chorus. Songkes, Songkes, Songkes. It just sort of, it wasn't going anywhere. I was switching off. And normally in these reviews, when we talk about the outfits they wear, they're normally quite uniform, all the same, but they seem to be all over the place. But for this particular act, I didn't think that mattered so much.
Interesting point there. Sarah, what was your take on goings on?
I partly agree with Richard. I thought it was quite disorganised and disjointed at times. But with the costumes, I kind of had this feeling that I was being taken back to the peace and love man of times, of the hippie times of the 60s, especially with a couple of the females' outfits. Little bit of sort of the old Irish jingle going in there. But other than that, the group just looked as if they just met each other, basically. I found it got quite boring after a bit, and as Richard said, very repetitive.
That's another one thinking repetitive. John, what do we think?
Repetitive, you say? Yeah, well, I thought it was quite ironic that they got a song with the Turkish title the first year that Turkey decided that they weren't going to take part in Eurovision anymore. So this could have been the only Turkish we ever saw in 2013, but it soon became apparent this wasn't going to go there because it just seemed like a 90-second song that was just stretched to make 3 minutes. You know, it comes back to being a bit repetitive. I mean, nothing wrong with the singer. He was like a Joe Cocker wannabe, and he was joined by members of the Flower generation, which I don't know. It's, grizzled old rock star and Love and Peace. Yeah, trying to cover all bases, I suppose. Having said that, it was a bit nicely Celtic. It had the old Celtic influence to it. Just to remind people that yes, we're Ireland, not Turkey, or California. But I think there could have been better ways to start that contest.
No, I have to agree with everything that's been said so far. When I saw on paper that it was a Turkish language song in an Irish final, I thought, oh wow, this is going to be spectacular. And to echo what John said, the first year we don't have Turkey, I thought, this could have hoovered up a lot of diaspora voting. I liked it as an idea, and I think that's about as far as it went. It had a nice country twang to it, and there was that lovely bridge in the middle that was sort of a fusion of Turkish and Celtic music sort of slammed together that on paper shouldn't work, but I actually really enjoyed. But yeah, as a song, it felt like it didn't really go anywhere. It was a tad dull, and I think Sarah said it just sort of felt like they'd all been stuck together and were sort of more or less doing their own thing. The girl in the white dress did look like she was having the time of her life, though. But yeah, sort of connection with the camera and such, it just really didn't work for me, which is a shame because, as I said, on paper, I loved it as an idea. How about you, Bogdan?
Yeah, I must agree. When I heard about the song, I had high hopes, but when I saw them, it looked a bit crowded. Having said that, okay, the stage wasn't big to begin with, but there were too many on the stage for such a small one. I enjoyed the music, I must say, especially the part where they had a little bit of a violin solo there, and then the mix of the folkloric instruments. I enjoyed that part. All the rest was a little bit of a mess, though, and yes, a bit repetitive. And at the end, like John said, it felt like a really, really long song, not another short one of 3 minutes.
It did feel a bit like a long 3 minutes. So what are we all thinking? If we think that was say yay, or no, never? Yeah, we seem fairly unanimous on that one. Sorry about that one. Right, so we are moving on now to song number 2, Amy Fitzpatrick and Crashing Down. Let's have a listen now.
I've never once said hello to you, never once said a single word. It's all me. I need to break free from myself. I'm crashing down into a world that I've found. It's not what I'm used to. It's not what I'm used to.
Okay, so Crashing Down was written by Robert Grace, and the mentor for Amy was Robert wrote it. Mark McGabe was the mentor, who's a DJ and music producer. So again, you think would sort of have a fairly good idea of what was current in music. Now, your eyes did not deceive you. That was Paul Harrington on the piano. So from Eurovision 1994, the winner, Rock and Roll Kids. So for this one, for me, felt like this was one that RT had sort of put a lot of faith in. What do you think, John?
Yeah, it's a ballad. Ireland likes ballads. Ireland does ballads, as we've seen from previous national finals. Ireland and ballads, they go together like Ireland and ballads, really. Yeah, ballad 21st century style. I thought it was a little bit like that song from Lithuania a few years ago by Eva with the long surname. A bit on the breathy side, but yeah, it's a ballad, but they can do better than that with other ballads. Paul Harrington on piano was a nice touch, obviously to get a few extra votes here and there. A familiar face, a winner. One of Ireland's 7 winners. Take that, Sweden. It was a little bit on the formulaic side, but it's a ballad and they can get quite formulaic. It was all right, but it was never going to win.
Okay, and how about you, Sarah?
Well, sort of, it should have stood out really, because it was the only ballad amongst a load of other up-tempo songs. But I was actually found myself feeling quite disappointed. It's a very, very typical sort of Irish type ballad from the 90s. I felt I wasn't that impressed with the with the camera connection. I thought she looked a little bit disinterested, to be honest, not engaging with the audience enough. It's a nice little song, which I'd probably be sort of listening to the radio. You know, it might be one of those songs that just pops up on radio program. But no, I didn't think it was enough to stand out to win.
It's interesting you say about camera work, because that was one thing that I noticed in this song. I was like, why is no one connecting with the camera? And then I figured out that the cameraman was sort of standing to one side so the audience could see the show. So I thought, okay, that's that's going to be problematic for connecting to the audience. Amy herself, I thought, she's very pretty. She did have stage presence. It's a simple ballad, and I think had it gone to Eurovision, it would have served quite well as a sort of anti-Only Teardrops. It's sort of the other side of it. Emily Deforest's very upbeat and happy. Amy Fitzpatrick sort of a bit more moody and melancholic. But yeah, it did feel a touch formulaic, and I felt like she sort of lacked a real belter voice with that. The one thing, though, that I do commend them on is even though she made very little contact with the camera, I thought the camera did a great job of connecting with whoever was behind her. So there are some great shots of Paul looking down the camera as he's on the piano, and one of the backing singers connects really well with the camera. Usually I'd discourage something like that at Eurovision, but I thought actually it was different, but it worked. But yeah, altogether I think it was a work in progress. Bogdan, what say you?
Well, I must begin by saying that besides Amy being a really beautiful girl, she had a really clear, nice voice, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the performance. I didn't feel connected to it at all, unfortunately, and by the time the song finished, I forgot what she sang about. So for me, it was quite forgettable. It was pleasant, but forgettable.
That's forgettable. Okay. And how about you, Richard?
It's certainly very different from song one, and it is a nice ballad, but that's all we can really say about it. Nice. What grabbed me in the backdrop on the LED screens, now the song's called Crashing Down. Now it might just be my eyes deceiving me, but the turquoisey colours look like crashing waves. So, and we're sort of seeing that with the Irish dressed in black and at Jesk with turquoisey colours, that sort of thing. But apart from lack of connectivity, I just agree with everybody else. With everybody else.
Okay, so we all seem to think it was a nice idea, maybe not pulled off as well as it could be. So what do we reckon? Say yeah, or no, never? Yeah, a bit in the middle there. Okay, so we don't seem to be wowed by anything we've seen yet. Let's see if we can change that with song number 3, Fire, by Zoe Alexis Borjerkas.
In your eyes, I see everything. With this new thing I found in the city, we'll go underground, and in the darkness there's a light. I lie awake, you fly away, a Roman candle burning bright, the night's on fire. True love, true love, true love, true love, true love, true love.
Right, so Fire was written by Lauren White Murphy, Willie Weeks, I kid you not, and Niall Mooney, who was also the mentor for Zoe. Now, Niall Mooney was the co-writer for Ireland's Eurovision entries in 2009 and 2010, so It's For You and etc. So again, in touch with what was going on at Eurovision time. What do we think about what's going on here? Who wants to take the lead on this one? Sarah?
Right, well, it certainly livened things up, I thought, after sort of the previous two songs. It's a very sort of typical Eurovision up-tempo number, and might have done quite well had it gone to the contest, but I had a feeling that I was kind of sort of, it's a little bit like with the outfits, it was a little bit like Sheba meets, I don't know if anybody from the 70s who was around in the 70s would remember Sarah Brightman and Hot Gossip. And this, I'm afraid, so that this just reminded me of them, because Zoe just looks just like Sarah Brightman in some ways with the hair, yeah, and some of the dance movements. I found the eyelashes a bit distracting as well. But having said that, sort of great, it's kind of like a great disco type number that you might hear in a nightclub. As I say, not untypical for Eurovision at all. Yeah, I quite liked it.
That's good. I must admit, when I saw the title and heard a few bars, I was like, oh, this is Fuego before Fuego, quite literally. The bridge reminds me a bit of Straight Into Love from Slovenia the same year. It sort of had the same sort of sound quality to it, which I thought was unusual. Yeah, I'll start with the positives. She was the only one so far in the show to connect well with the camera. There was a beautiful moment where the camera swept past and she sort of looked down the camera as it went down. I was like, well done, Eurovision 101, that's good. And I think it was the best show that we had in terms of pyro, the dancing. It's also nice to see Donna McCall as one of the backing singers who went to Kiev for Islands in Eurovision 2005. Very underrated song, I say that one. Coming back to Fire, at one point I wondered if she was on fire. It was a bit of a mess vocally, if I'm completely honest. I liked it as an idea. I thought it was all there and it was nice to see something upbeat and quite modern, but yeah, I think it needed a bit of polishing and it wasn't quite there yet. Hey, Bogdan, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I must agree with you, James. Like, the song was fun, energetic, but I really did not like the vocals at all, and they did not harmonize together. I don't know, a bit of shouting here and there. And another thing that disturbed me a little bit, was the dancers in the background trying to maybe overdo the singer, trying to overdo Zoe. Overall, it wasn't that bad, but I would have not chosen this one to go to Eurovision.
So harming more than harmonizing. Richard, what do you think?
Vocally off, and this is going to sound really bad, but the only fiery thing I found about it was the pyrotechnics. And that's just the honest truth. It didn't do anything for me, that song.
Okay, so this one seems to have really split opinions then. So what do we say? Say yay, or no, never?
Shall I have a say first?
Oh, John, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to guess you.
It's all right.
The power's gone to my head. What did I say?
Yeah, well, on the plus side, it was quite a modern song. It was quite probably the sort of thing that Eurovision needed in 2013, something a bit more modern. Maybe taking a bit of a vibe from Euphoria, which was the way Eurovision was starting to head, that more modern, bit more arty sort of thing as well. But Zoe herself, a bit of a glamour puss, I thought. Definitely a bit of a glamour puss, you know. Mutton dressed as lamb is not the right thing to say, you know. She was definitely the lamb, but what she started off with, I don't know. The outfits made me giggle because black and gold. They were sort of before Jonida Maliki from Albania, so they look like coffee jars. Carte d'Or, other coffee brands are available. Songing wise, yeah, it was a very raw performance, and I think that's what we found. What I found with all of the songs in this, they were very raw performances. Whichever song won would have needed a lot of work doing to it to sort of polish it and bring it up to scratch. But this one, yeah, a very raw performance, and it was a very challenging chorus. I don't know, possibly a challenge too far for Zoe.
Okay, so quite some mixed opinions there. Now, what do we think? Is it say yay, or no, never? A bit of a mix there. I think, as we said, with a lot of the songs, all the pieces are there. They're just maybe not slotting together as neatly as we would have liked. Which leads us swiftly on to song number 4, Ryan Dolan, Only Love Survives.
We're gonna live like it's the last night alive, and we're dancing to the morning light. And even if the sun don't rise,
Now, Only Love Survives was written by Wes Devine and Ryan Dolan, who's the only singer to have a hand in writing their entry for this contest. And Ryan's mentor for Eurosong was Stuart O'Connor, who choreographed and produced both of Jedward's Eurovision performances. So, again, fairly safe pair of hands, we would have thought. Right, so what I liked about it was it's very upbeat performance. He connects beautifully with the camera. I thought that was the one that did that the most so far. It was nice to see a bit of the touch of the traditional in there with the instruments, but it felt quite distinctly modern as well, which was nice. His backing dancers and singers, everything didn't upstage him, which was nice, because I think that's something we see a lot at national finals and at Eurovision in general, that sort of what's going on elsewhere on stage that overpowers the performance. But I think it was definitely the most polished performance of the night, and I mean, we all know what happened next, but I think we can see why that happened. Bogdan, what did you think?
Well, definitely he had the best vocals of the night, this so far. And I enjoyed the performance, and like you said, the backing dancers did not overpower him. Everything was good in my opinion. Like, yeah, he was a well-deserved winner.
Okay, so Richard, what do you have to add?
It was great vocally. I do think the backing singers were overpowering him at points during the national final. I compared it to Malmo, and whether it's different backing singers or not, they weren't as overpowering. To be honest, I think the only real competition Ryan had at Lap Mix 5 would have been Amy Fitzgerald.
That'd be Amy Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, sorry. Sorry.
Never mind, but I did that out. John, what are your thoughts on?
Yeah, well, again, it's a very contemporary song, and it sort of knocked the previous three songs out the water completely. We obviously know how it ended up, but trying to put myself in the mindset of a late show on a Friday night, it was a very crowded performance. You know, they hadn't got a big stage, and we're used to seeing the grand final performance in Malmo where he's got all the room he wants. But that one, it was all very, very enclosed. And like, this needs more room. It needs a bigger stage. But that aside, you know, it's clearly the best one so far. The Celtic elements, just to remind people that it's Ireland and not Sweden. Okay. He was almost in key. I think it's another challenging song, and maybe it was just the general set and everything, but there were a few notes I thought he missed. But I think the strength of the song enough was to carry it, and it's that sort of thing they could work on. So definitely, yeah, the right choice.
Excellent. And Sarah, how about you?
Well, I'm going along with everybody else, really. I felt it was the most professional and polished performance of the night. You've got everything there. You've got the backing vocalists. You've got sort of Ryan's voice. You know, you've got the sort of busy going on in the background with the banging drums. You know, what more could you want in Eurovision? I do agree with John. I do think there were some times when notes were missed. But as I say, but to be honest, you know, it would hardly be noticeable really, because the performance itself, I think, made up for that. Definitely the best performance of the night.
Excellent. So overly positive with this one. So I think we know where this is going to go. Yeah, or no, never. I think that's pretty conclusive, isn't it? Right, excellent. So it's been a long way, but we are finally here with our final song of the evening, Kiss Me by Casey.
You got your bodyguard, defenses up its hard to get through everything, but won't you kiss me? Don't overanalyze, this girl won't tell no lies. I'll heal the hurt inside if you would only kiss me. Seconds and it's done, think Cupid's got your turn. Your lips are gonna be in heaven if you kiss me. I ain't ever gonna break your heart when every kiss is like a work of art. Whoa,
Now, Kiss Me was written by Drax, and Casey's mentor was Mary Farrell, who was a radio producer and DJ at Radio FM, Today FM Radio even. My apologies. Now, of course, we all know how history worked out. She didn't get to go to Malmö, but jump 40 years, she did get to go to Copenhagen, which is just across the bridge, so didn't really miss out all that much, really. So I'm going to hand over to Bogdan, who's going to give us his thoughts on Kiss Me.
Right, so after seeing Ryan and his crowded stage, and then Casey came along and she looked so alone on the stage. So, oh, she's really alone on the stage, but she was trying to be seductive. Kiss me there. Okay, I must say, I didn't like the song at all. I wanted to like it, but I didn't like it. Her vocals were okay, nothing impressive. It was a safe song, boppy song, but a safe song. And it just lacked that oomph to make it more polished. And I must also the background, the musical background wasn't very challenging for my ear also. It was a bit repetitive, the same tone over and over again. But she had luck next year. So that's it.
She did indeed. Richard, what are your thoughts on this?
I thought the music was great, you know, especially for the end of the main bit of the competition compared to how it started. Vocals, I thought, all over the place, but there was some very dubious choreography. You know, when they're moving their hands about and then suddenly they're going down like that and they say "kiss me," I'm thinking it's getting too seductive here. But it just caught. I thought I knew it was Friday night and, you know, past Watershed, but I'm thinking, not quite what you expect at Eurovision, I'm afraid.
No, indeed, it's a family show. We must remember that. John, would you like to follow that?
Yeah, Copenhagen Casey. Yeah, it wasn't a bad song. It was a case after the Lord Mayor's show, and I think it just went to prove that Ryan's was clearly the best song of the night when you saw what followed it. It wasn't bad. It was nice and modern, but I've got written down it was lacking something, but I don't know what it was lacking. Whether it was better backing singers or a better backdrop or a bigger stage, I'm not sure, but they could have made so much more of it, and it could have been a bigger challenger than it was. Formulaic can be good or bad. You know, formulaic song can win because people are familiar with it and they know how things are going to go and they like what they hear. Or formulaic can be just, oh dear, we've heard this sort of thing 20 times before. And I think it maybe did eventually drop into the oh yeah, another one we've heard 20 times before and we don't need to hear it again. They could have done so much better with it, I think.
Okay, fair enough. Sarah, what did you think?
I'm with John on this one, I think. It had potential, but I just felt it got lost along the way and didn't really sort of give me anything to keep my interest up with it. And I suppose coming after Ryan, I just feel sorry for her really, because, you know, obviously sort of his performance was always going to overshadow hers. I felt it was quite wooden in parts as well, you know, very kind of static in its way. Considering it's supposed to be an up-tempo song. But I give her credit for trying, but I have to say 2014 was definitely better.
Agreed. I think for me, I can only echo what everyone else has said. John said about something lacking. I remember watching the performance and feeling the exact same thing. It wasn't a bad song anyway. I quite liked the beat of it. It had that sort of like 90s club feel to it. So I thought, okay, this is quite pleasant. I don't say this very often about Eurovision songs, but I think if she'd had some backing dancers or some sort of gimmick, I think that would have maybe pushed her over the top. But as things were, I think it was a bit wooden. It did feel like there was something missing. And as Richard pointing out, you know, there are sort of, when you say "kiss me," we want your hands above your waist. I'm sorry, that's just that's just polite society. What can we say? So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. So what were you thinking, guys? Say yeah, or no, never.
Mm,
Bit more mixed there. Okay. Right, so we only had 5 songs take part in 2013, and those were those 5 songs. So we had an interval act where Lordi, our winner from 2006, performed, and then we moved on to the voting. So let me just grab my notes for that. So the winner was chosen by a mixture of jury and public vote. So there were juries in 5 locations in Cork, Galway, Dundalk, Limerick and Dublin. Now each of those could give 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12 their favourite songs, so very much like the contest itself. Now interestingly, 3 sets of 12 points went crashing down by Amy. That's Cork, Galway and Dundalk, whereas Only Love Survives got the other 2 12s from Dublin and Limerick. So Amy wins the jury vote. Then we move on to the public televote. Now, rather bizarrely, the votes were given out in sort of block numbers. So we had 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60. So 60 for the winner, 20 there. And it was Ryan Dolan who won the televote. So combined with the jury vote, he goes off to Malmö and Amy comes in second. Now, fast forward to May in Malmö. Ryan performs 26th on the night, so the last song of the contest that year. The votes start coming in from around Europe. He acquires 5 of them and ends up in 26th place. Now, ouch indeed. Now, Ireland have done that before. In 2007, they got only 5 points and ends up at the bottom of the scoreboard. But what I want to open up to everyone here is, having watched Ireland's performance in the Eurovision final, what do we think went wrong? And in addition to that, do we think Ireland could have avoided that with any other song in the national selection? So who'd like to start us on that? Any ideas about maybe what went wrong for Ryan in Malmö?
I'm not sure that much went wrong, really. I mean, the performance in Malmö was a really cut above the raw thing that we saw in Dublin. It had all the Irish elements, so it was Irish. Maybe it was just a bit too busy. Coming on 26th as well. There are schools of thought that say the best place to be is about the 3rd quarter, because by then the public are losing interest, and by the time you get to song 26, it's like, oh, well, not another one. It has to be a really special song to make an impact when it's on so late in the draw. So I think it wasn't any one thing that did him down. It was just a combination of things, perhaps the busyness on stage, the fact he was last. People were, depending on where you are in Europe, people were probably on their 88th cup of tea or their 8th bottle of wine by then, so they don't really know what was happening. I don't think he did anything wrong as such. It was just a combination of lots of little things.
That's an interesting take on it. Sarah, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with John, and also I felt it was quite a strong year, particularly for sort of up-tempo type numbers, so maybe that went against him as well, because he also had Emily de Forest along with the drums as well, so I think a lot of competition there, and I think coming last in the running order didn't do him any justice, really. Had he gone maybe perhaps sort of 16th to 18th, may have made a difference, who knows. But it's a shame, really, because I felt that he put everything into the performance. I don't think he did anything wrong as such. I agree with John, it was rather busy on the stage, but then he had more of a stage to actually be busy on, so you can exclude that. But yeah, it's a shame, really. I just felt it was just a combination of too many other strong entries and also being last in the running order.
I'm inclined to agree. Watching the performance back, the thing that struck me immediately is that Ryan, it's almost like a textbook how to connect with the Eurovision camera. He does it perfectly. So I was sitting there thinking, well, okay, well, it's definitely not that. The performance, as we said, it had a bigger stage. There was sort of more space on 2 things. So Ryan, bless him, did a fantastic job. I think, as we've all agreed, it comes down to the fact being last in the running order sort of, is tricky. And also, I mean, the one thing that I could maybe fault was there were times when the camera had panned back across the arena or was focusing more on the dancers than Ryan. But I think it's like we've all agreed, these are all very minor points that, it was a combination of things rather than one single thing. Now, I did have a look at the results because I was curious. So, with the juries, Ryan came 23rd out of 26, but the public had him as 14th. So that is a bit of a swing, bit of a difference. We see a similar story in the semi-final. He was 10th with the juries, but 6th with the televote. So I think the juries seem to have more problem with the song than the public did. And I think it was, as we already said, you know, by the end of Eurovision Song 26, we're all a bit sort of punch drunk by that point, sort of wondering what's happening. And yeah, possibly jurors are as well. You know, they've had to rank all these songs. So they're like, you know, oh right, well, oh okay. So it's just unfortunate it was where it was in the running order. Bogdan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I must agree with what you've said so far. I think by the time Ryan performed, the jury's already made up their mind, oh, who's in which order, and then, oh, we have to squeeze somewhere Ireland. Well, we can't put Ireland quite last, so let's move it a bit forward, because Ryan did a really good job. I enjoyed his performance, like you said. He had a really great camera connection with the camera. Vocals were on point, dancers were there, everything to catch your eye. But yeah, coming last in the running order didn't do him any favors. Like Sarah said, if he would have been maybe 18th or something, 16, he would have had a chance at least to be in the top 20.
I'm inclined to agree. And last but by no means least, Richard, what's your take on all this?
Like everybody else has said, I don't think Ryan did particularly anything wrong. I have just actually quickly looked at the running order, who Ireland followed. So in spot 24 was Norway, which was Margaret Berger, I Feed You My Love, which was obviously that up-tempo electric sort of song. And then just before Ireland was Georgia with the song Waterfall, which was that quite strong ballad. So Ryan didn't do anything wrong. I just think it is purely running order that sort of was his downfall.
So it does seem to be a series of unfortunate events in this case, which is a shame. As we've all agreed, we don't think the songs deserve that. So does anyone think that any of the songs in the Irish national final, had they gone to Eurovision, they would have done any better?
I'll start to say no. I'll be short. No.
Simple
It was the best option.
I think it's highly unlikely any of those other songs would have made it out of the semi-final. This was their only hope. Ryan was the only chance of Ireland getting out of that semi-final.
I think had Amy Fitzpatrick had gone to Eurovision, they'd have had to have totally reworked that performance for any chance of it to go as far as Ryan did.
Yeah, what do you think, Sarah?
I'm in agreement with everybody. I certainly think Ryan was the best one to send. I don't think anybody else could have done any better. And as John said, I have my doubts that any of the others would have got out the semi-final.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to agree with everyone that Ryan was definitely the man for the job. It's just unfortunate that the Eurovision gods sort of conspired against him on the night. But there's always the next time, and we'd love to see Ryan back at the contest. Okay, so those are our thoughts on the national selection from 2013. If you agree with us, let us know why, let us know what points we raised that you liked. If you disagree with us, let us know, tell us why we're wrong. It's always interesting to see. Now, of course, keep checking back to EurovisionIreland.net. We've got lots of things coming up over the coming weeks and months. Sarah's working very hard with Where Are They Now? Here Today, Gone Tomorrow, so seeing where the stars of yesterday's Eurovisions are. We've got Richard working hard on the Eurovision ABC, so A to Z, so keep checking back for that. Bogdan is having a look at One Day Love, so we're choosing a song every week and just giving it our love, giving every song their chance in the spotlight. What's Another Year? John having a look at Eurovision birthdays. And also, remember, we're doing The Real Me, so if you have any memories connected to the Eurovision Song Contest, any songs that have strong meaning for you or bring back good memories, do let us know, write into the website and tell us so we can include you on the website. And of course, I'm still doing our Best of the Big Five polls. We're looking for your favourite from Germany, and we'll be doing polls for France and the United Kingdom in the coming weeks. Okay, so lots to check back. Remember that address, EurovisionIreland.net. And join us again in future. We'll be doing more of these finals, more reviews, more content. Yeah, see you soon. Take care, everyone. See you soon. Bye.
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 Bye.